Every year, nearly 3 lakh students flock to the city of Kota in Rajasthan, or as many like to call it, the coaching capital of the country. And almost half of them, around a lakh and a half roughly, go and enroll themselves at one particular institution, Allen Career Institute, which was last valued at over $1 billion. It is a pioneering institution that has been around for the last 35 years. Now, as we all know, Kota's reputation lately has been under question because of the frequent student suicides. This has obviously affected the number of students coming in, and for the first time in its history, the coaching giant Allen is seeing a fall in its admissions. And it is no small dip. Admissions have dropped by over 35% to around 80,000. But here's the interesting part. This isn't restricted to Allen's institute in Kota alone. It's happening in other cities as well. Actually, 2 years ago, VC investment firm Bodhi Tree Systems came into the picture and Allen began expanding the number of campuses outside of Kota. Now, in total, there are over 200 of them and at least one third of them are new. The company's CEO Nitin Kukreja told my colleague Alifia Khan that Allen entered 16 new cities like Patna and Lucknow last year alone. A senior teacher at Allen Kota told us that for a center to be profitable, it needs at least 4 to 5,000 student enrollments. But right now, Allen is not even seeing half of this. So it is not surprising that at least half a dozen senior Allen staffers and competitors told the Ken that a big chunk of these new Allen centers are losing money. Staff pays have also taken a hit, but Allen seems to be hiring staff in new cities irrespective, with a possible plan of shifting base outside of Kota. In today's episode, we take a look at what is happening inside one of the country's largest test prep giants. Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host Nigha Sharma, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Rahil Philippos and I will come to you with one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Monday, the 12th of August. The fall in admissions has forced Allen Institute to do something it's never done before in its 3-decade-long existence. Allen was known for giving its teachers what a senior teacher called legendary salaries. In fact, it used to poach the best talent from other institutes. Now, Allen is restructuring employee salaries and has reduced their pay by at least 1/5. What is most interesting to note here is that all of this started after VC firm Bodhi Tree entered the scene. It bought a third of Allen Career Institute for $600 million. And after that, it is the VC firm's executives that run Allen's day-to-day operations. The 4 Maheshwari brothers are now a part of the company's board. Earlier last month, the institute's founder director Rajesh Maheshwari told its 4,000-strong workforce that the tough period would last a couple of years. But you know what else he said? Talking about their high salaries in the past, he said Allen's teachers so far had been the recipients of a lottery. To give you a better idea, mid-level teachers were making anywhere between 20 to 40 lakh rupees per annum, and the institute's star teachers were getting even more. After the pay cut decision, over 600 teachers wrote to Maheshwari and demanded that the management review the decision. But Kukreja, the CEO, sees them as a small section of employees. He told us that transformations like this take time and they will face some resistance as well. He also told us that there is a disproportionate attention being given to Kota. He agreed that the center remains Allen's biggest contributor to admissions, bringing in at least a quarter of them, but he said 75% enrollments now come from other centers. And that is actually the pain point as well. Not only is Allen losing revenue inside of Kota, it is also doing the same in its newly opened offline centers. A senior teacher told the Ken that in Delhi alone it has more than a dozen centers and they rang up a loss of 70 crore rupees in 2 years. When we asked Kukreja about this, he refused to get into numbers. He said in any business, the first couple of years is all about building it. He said what you see as a loss, Allen sees as an investment and as building for the future. Two people aware of the company's funding details told us that Allen is reported to have spent equal amounts of money to both expand outside of Kota and also to boost its online vertical. Kukreja says that because of this option, they haven't really lost out on enrollments. But sources told us that the online business is not really that stable either. Stay tuned for more on this.
Bangalore, the city of great weather, great dosas, VC money, and great tech talent. Look, I've studied, worked, and lived in Bangalore for a long time, so this might sound a little biased. But this has been the Bangalore narrative for the longest time. Want to build a startup? Bangalore, the Silicon Valley of India, is the place for you. But here's the thing. This narrative has now slowly become a bubble. The Bangalore Bubble. Even though more and more startups here believe they're doing great work, if you zoom out a little and look at the list of most startups that have gone public, for instance, these are companies like Zomato, Paytm, MakeMyTrip, InfoEdge. They all have one thing in common. They're all built out of Delhi. It seems like Bangalore wants to build startups, but Delhi wants to build businesses. And at a time when funding, investors, customers are all limited, and Bangalore companies like Swiggy, Ola Electric, and Flipkart are set to go public, this isn't just anecdotes or theories. It's a competition. Where you build will determine your future. And it seems like only one of these cities will eventually win. This is the tug of war that I, Praveen Gopalkrishnan, and my co-host Rohin Dharmakumar talk about in the latest episode of 2x2, a weekly premium business podcast from the Ken's newsroom. If you're a premium subscriber of the Ken, you can listen to the full episode on our app. But if not, no worries. We have a free version of this episode wherever you get your podcast. Thank you, and back to your show now.
Allen's online story began back in 2022. A fierce battle had played out between Allen and Unacademy when Unacademy came into Kota with its offline centers and reportedly spent 100 crore rupees to poach teachers from Allen. Though it did not create a dent in Allen's business, it did push the coaching giant's ambitions to face off with the edtechs in their own turf, which was online. Allen had made its intentions clear, aiming for 100 times growth in enrollments. It wants to take its student count to 25 million in 5 years. And besides the move to expand physically to more cities, its digital business remains central to this plan. But the Ken spoke to at least 2 senior staffers at Allen and 2 founders of coaching institutes, and they told us even across all courses, Allen's enrollment in online courses has not crossed the 15,000 to 20,000 mark. Physicswala, on the other hand, had about 2.4 million paid orders in 2023 for its 28 online test prep segments. Meanwhile, Allen Digital only offers medical, engineering test prep, and foundation courses for school students. Coaching experts believe that the key difference is in the fee. While Physicswala charges a student anywhere in the range of 4 to 6,000 rupees for admissions to its prep course for NEET 2025, Allen charges at least 20 times more. Getting students to commit a fee for an online course, keeping with what one pays for an offline center, is very difficult, especially in the post-COVID world. On asking Kukreja about this, he gave us the example of Zomato. He said, and I'm quoting, "Did Zomato post losses or make investments for so many years?" End quote.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of the Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings. A full subscription unlocks daily long-form feature stories, newsletters, and podcast extras. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the Ken website. Today's episode was hosted by Snigdha Sharma and edited by Raj.